Hi, the Brisbane Broncos are 5-6 after losing to the New Zealand Warriors 42-12 on Sunday, and hey, at least it wasn't 50. It's been a couple of days since the game, the dust has settled a bit, and I've sorted my emotions out, mostly. My strongest emotion, though, is sadness for the white boy of the year for the resurgent Tanner Boyd, who tore his ACL and will miss the rest of the season. The pessimist in me wonders whether the ground was more likely to shift under Tanner, letting his knee slip out from under him because there had been 7 games in the 3 days prior, but then I remembered that the numbers were big, so I guess it must have been something else. Tanner retains white boy of the year for all of 2026. In respect for Tanner, it will not be awarded to another white boy. Of course, that's not the ground staff's fault, by the way. This publication respects all ground staff and greenskeepers nationwide. That was potentially Boyd's origin audition, and I would have loved to see him get the nod. Would have been very deserved for his excellent start. I also feel some very positive emotions towards Boyd's replacement in this game, Tamari Martin, who is one of my all-time favourite players. I wish he was still a Bronco. I know they had to let him go. I just want to see him play, even if it's carving up my team. I was at the 2017 prelim against the Roosters where he had the game of his life at the age of 21 and had his entire future ahead of him, only for it all to be taken away. There's a massive soft spot in my heart for TMM. That was the first time he played this year, and Andrew Webster is repaying Tamari for his efforts rather than rewarding the malcontent Metcalf. As for the game itself, I was coming into this one with a feeling of trepidation. I've been very high on the Warriors this season. I think they're genuine contenders. They've got the best pack in the league, better even than a full-strength Broncos. And the Broncos were absolutely steamrolled in the middle of the park. James Fisher-Harris runs 156 metres, Mitch Barnett for 131, Aaron Clark 198, Jackson Ford 122, then Halasima and Dimitri Valmunga 103. More than 800 metres in total out of those guys. Only 2 Broncos forwards recorded more than 100 run metres, being Carrigan with 166 and Wilson with 120. Just on those numbers, you're going to lose. And let's pull up Aaron Clark's try as proof of how good the Wars pack is. Wade Egan has Jackson Ford and James Fisher-Harris on either side. There's only one marker, so he can get out right and puts it to Clark. And Halasima is running a line that scared Carrigan, Hunt and Mam so much that they all forgot who the most dangerous man on the field is. Of course, being the man with the ball, and they all fall for the dummy and Aaron Clark is over easily. And I tend to think that Carrigan is one of the better individual defenders in the competition, so it says how damaging Leka Halasima is that a defender of that caliber is so worried about Leka receiving the ball that he will completely take his eyes off the reigning Dally M lock of the year 5 metres out from the line. So now I've said a whole bunch of nice things about the Warriors. They're very good, and I've acknowledged that the Broncos were completely outplayed by a far more competent forward pack. Can I please talk about Ashley Klein now? Good, thank you. I've become disillusioned with the 6 again because they're a completely discretionary decision by one person which can't be reviewed and are often unexplained. And I said earlier in the week talking about this that when Ashley went on his big whistling streak that I couldn't tell you what the penalties were for. So let's find out. What were the Broncos' infringements? I'm talking both penalties and 6 agains. What was the effect of them? I put it to you that Ashley Klein had a hand in absolutely ruining this game and that the majority of calls leading up to Carrigan being sin-binned, on which Klein relied as his reason for sending Carrigan, were wrong, so much that it causes at least some doubt as to whether the outcome might have been different if someone else had the whistle in this game. Enough that you can go back on the loss and say, well, injuries and Klein, and not acknowledge that the Broncos were only able to score 2 tries in total in 80 minutes of football. Some of these involve timing and others speech. I'm not going to edit a stopwatch or extra captions onto the screen, so for any reference to time or what people have said, trust me, okay? I've been honest. First 6 again of the game is called against Jordan Ricky after this tackle on JFH, where Klein calls out, "Release now, Jordan," as Jordan and Adam Reynolds are extricating themselves from the tackle. And it takes Ricky 2.2 seconds after that to get to his feet and allow Fish to play the ball. Not fast enough for Klein, and the arm goes up. But I don't understand what is wrong about this tackle other than Ricky not following Klein's instructions quickly enough. It's not as if there's a penalty here. There's no foul play. The Wires are still in the process of setting up their next play. Fisher-Harris can play the ball fine, and from the time the tackle was complete, when Fisher-Harris went to ground and was grabbed by Ricky and Reynolds to the 6 again call, it's a total of 3.8 seconds. You know how many other tackles take 3.8 seconds? Basically all of them. JFH's average play the ball speed in this game was 3.6 seconds. And finally, I've found a use for that stat. So Jordan isn't playing to Ashley's personal rules for punctuality, being 0.2 of a second too slow, and cops it. Me personally, I'm saying that's a bad call, that's wrong. Second call goes against Jesse Arthurs for a second effort, and this is completely wrong. Khan Pereira recovers a kick, Ricky pushes him to the ground and is entitled to make a tackle. Arthurs joins, and that's all he does. Then Alofi kicks out before the tackle's complete. There's a held call by Klein, and AKP goes out of bounds after that, and it's a penalty. But why? Ricky doesn't do anything wrong. Arthurs doesn't do anything wrong. Not even Khan Pereira does something wrong. But because he's moving, trying to get out of the tackle, it gets called for a second effort on Arthurs, and also maybe because the ball carrier ended up out of bounds. But once the held call is made, he's allowed to be out of bounds to get out of the tackle and play the ball. And he gets there himself, not because of anything Arthurs did. Shame on the touchy for being right there and not saying anything. Shame on Klein for not knowing the rules. And it completely takes away the field position that the Broncos had gained from a very good kick from Reynolds. And now they're defending 30 metres upfield for another set. So 2 calls down and I'm yet to see an actual infringement. The third one is an infringement. Walsh is offside and stays in the play. It's a gamble, hoping no one would notice what one of the most important players on the field was doing, and it didn't pay off. This one's frustrating since Shibasaki defended the actual play and did it well, but also the Warriors only have field possession because Klein failed to correctly interpret the rules up the other end. Fourth infringement is a hip drop by Preston Ricky, and some of the elements of this are arguable. He's trying to avoid landing with all his weight onto a picky by getting his knees to the ground first, but instead still lands on Tane. And that's careless and could destroy his legs, so we'll say that 2 of the 4 calls are correct so far. Next is high contact by Willison, and I'm not convinced by this. The first contact is with the ball, Pereira is falling and changing his height, and the high contact is so minor. This is a probably correct technical call, but it's a weak one. This happens to Walsh all the time, and it goes uncalled, so I'm saying Klein remains 2 from 5. It's a contact sport. It's not like that guy left in a Facebook comment, kiss ball. Man, he burned me. Next, Jesse Arthurs gives away a restart for being inside 10 early in the set after Ezra slipped on the AstroTurf past the in-goal, and I can't judge this from the broadcast. I guess I just have to take it as read that Arthurs was offside and throw Klein a bone. He stays 500 at 3 of 6. There's gamesmanship here though. The Broncos are intentionally holding up the play to let Ezra get back. Coates throws in a leg pull for good measure, so it's probably self-inflicted, and right or wrong call doesn't affect the play. Next penalty, Reynolds gets done for an escort on Capewell, and I mean, really? I suspect there's a bit of veteran nous going on here between Capewell and Reynolds, where Capewell is trying to run into Reynolds and Reynolds is trying to have himself run into, but it's so light. Capewell's never in the play. Reynolds takes maybe a half step to the side, if that, after his turn, but he's still in the play. He's close to the ball. He's entitled to his space. What if he needs to attempt a tackle on a back? Why can't he stand there? To me, that's nothing bad called wrong. Klein's count goes to 3 of 7 and the ball stays with Warriors. It's not long until we get the next infringement. This one is charged to Xavier Willison in this tackle involving him, Preston Ricky and Corey Pakes against Capewell. At the same moment Capewell goes to ground, Klein doesn't call held. He calls Preston get up before Pakes has even moved from his back, and then calls 6 again slow. And that's just ridiculous. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that tackle. He's just impatient and wants to punish guys for not throwing their teammates off themselves at his whim. Because Preston's trying to get back up. He's also trying to get back, presumably, since he doesn't want to be punished by Klein, but was anyway, which leaves only one marker, and the Wires score immediately. That's the Clark try. But they had held onto the ball because of the escort call. Then Klein compounds that bad decision with the bad 6 again, and the Warriors still outplay the Broncos in all that passage of play by leveraging the run threat of Halasima, but they got the opportunity to do it because 5 of the 8 calls that Klein has made so far have been wrong. He does get 2 quick ones right because they're basically out of his hands. Jordan Recchi falls for a dummy and can't pull out of his tackle onto a picky. That's an actual penalty. Then Benny Fragans runs through the foot of Tamari Martin, and you just can't do that. Everyone knows about the rule. It's there for a reason, and even in minor cases like this, it's always going to be called. It's just one that as a fan, you have to remember they're rugby league players. They are our betters, but they're going to do some dumb stuff like ruining some very good defense by Karapani. So our Klein count is now that he's made 10 calls. 3 of them are straight up penalties for both Ricky's and Tolte. Then the reset after Walsh and Arthurs are offside. And because he's involved himself in the game 10 times already, he feels the need to bring Adam Reynolds over and warn him because his inability to control the game or to interpret the rules has led to a one-sided contest which is now snowballing because of his own incompetence. The rest of these calls, he's inserting himself into the game and enforcing a standard on the defense which is particularly one-sided. Whenever they're under pressure, they've got to get up like lightning at his instruction. And when Carrigan, Tolte and Walsh all tackle Jackson forward near the line, Klein doesn't even call held. He just yells, "Gay up!" Like he's yelling at an animal. There's a fury in this. There's no held call or anything. It's just, "Gay up!" And it's 3.3 seconds before Carrigan's up, but that's not good enough. Get off the field. But again, what's wrong with the tackle? 3 blokes have just intercepted a 100-kilo monster at full sprint, attacking the line, forced him onto his back, and they're rewarded by having to stand up immediately. There's no reward for making a good tackle here. Ashley wants this game wrapped up, and he tells Carrigan he's in the tackle way too long. Ford's average play the ball speed was 4.6 seconds in this game, by the way. In the time Carrigan is off, Warriors score 2 tries, and if I didn't have an inbuilt confidence in this team to come back from any deficit after what they did last year, I would have said that was game, down 22-0. Turns out it was anyway. But because of that compounding nature of the wrong calls, some correct calls, and the dumb decisions the Broncos made, they ended up with no ball in the first half, 32% of possession and less than half the number of sets that the Warriors had. And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is court now. That's Ashley Klein's fault. The Warriors didn't need help in this game, but they got it anyway, and it puts the whole result into doubt for me. The Broncos were robbed. Anyway, do I win Cope Zone Court? I rule in favor of the distressed man in the hoodie. Yes! I've very much come around on the 6 again as ruining the game. I initially liked it because, woohoo, tries. But now it's starting to take the soul out of the game. The scales have tipped too far, and the whistle is getting in the way of the game actually occurring. Going back to the Ricky 6 again and the Willison 6 again, the tackles on JFH and Capewell. What purpose does it serve for the tackle count to be reset for 2 perfectly ordinary tackles where the ball stayed in play, no one was injured, all the players were able to keep going, but a couple guys didn't stand up quick enough solely according to the bloke with the whistle? You wouldn't even notice if these hadn't been called. And this Ashley Klein problem has been festering for years. He's ruined Origins, he's ruined finals games. They dropped him from the grand final last year after he blew 18 penalties in the Sharks Storm prelim, but he's got an idea of how the game should be played and he's not communicating it to anyone. And if you breach that, that's 6 again. And if you get angry with him because he's not telling you what you're doing wrong and he's being nowhere near consistent, look out, buddy. You're, first of all, getting sent off, and second of all, never getting a good Klein game again, if there is one. He hates Carrigan. I can't remember why, but I suppose he raised his voice at him once. I can't believe he's refereeing Origin 1 after being so clearly bad at his job for years. I don't even want to talk about the Tuapiki professional foul. It was just so completely ridiculous. It probably doesn't change anything as a result, but if that's a 6 again, and also a guy standing up within a pretty ordinary time for the play the ball is 2, solely because of Klein's discretion, then the system doesn't work. Then they go and clear contact on the head on Walsh, him and G, and the bunker, and it takes the Indo doc to take any action which takes Walsh off the field for 15 minutes, which is more proof that Klein doesn't even know the rules. Anyway, Walsh's pass to Coates was pretty cool, wasn't it? I like how he threw it so hard and so fast that it was basically a kick, but man, Coates is an athlete to be able to catch that. That was cool. Broncos' first try was nice too. A whole lot of trust in Ricky on 1 foot. He did well to draw and pass, but none of that really feels like it matters. The comeback would have been sick, but the fix was already in from Klein. A couple of chances went begging. Walsh slipping on the turf, chasing a grubber. Then the kick to Karapani almost came off. That would have been incredible, but just wasn't their day. And most of that is down to the fact that every set, the Warriors were able to get like 70 run meters out of their forwards. But there's also a big, bald scapegoat, and I'm blaming him. 3-2-1, 3 points Reynolds, 2 points Walsh, 1 point Karapani. See you for Origin 1. Now, back to my manifesto.